welcome back to the channel. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and roll your notifications to all so you don't miss any of the demonic content. In my first video on the Jezebel Spirit, I noted that various contemporary conservative evangelical groups like to see the Jezebel Spirit as some kind of ancient and threatening territorial entity that has plagued history for thousands of years, a really important spiritual presence that has attacked mankind for generations. Now, as I've noted in this channel's description and elsewhere, I tend not to rule on demonic ontology. That is, whether a particular demon or demons as a category exist or not. And I want to be clear that what I'm about to do is an extension of the civic, literary, and historical. So let's hold this up to the litmus test of history. I've already noted that the name Jezebel appears quite a bit throughout the CE period, and that in contrast, the idea of a Jezebel spirit, qua demon, is hard to find, and most often is more clearly meaning a spirit like Jezebel's, not a Jezebel demon. But if it's so world-shattering, as a lot of contemporary evangelicals would argue, then we presumably would be able to do a little investigative work with our good friend Google to find it. Since a fair portion of literature at this point has been digitized and is searchable by Google, we should be able to just search Jezebel Spirit in quotation marks and limit the time frame to 1 decade at a time. This will allow us to see just how many people are writing about the Jezebel Spirit at a particular historical moment. If conservative evangelicals are right, then we would expect to see tons of references to the Jezebel Spirit in our primary sources blanketed throughout time. I'm going to start from the hypothesis that this has something to do with a historical issue that impacts women. First, let's start in the 20s. As a historian, I'm going to hypothesize that a lot of the spirit of Jezebel stuff that we saw in the 19th century has died down by now, since the 19th Amendment that guaranteed women's rights to vote was ratified in 1920. 2 results. Well, let's note that even if these did indicate a demon as a Jezebel spirit, it's a little thin for the level of earth-shattering importance that modern evangelicals ascribe to it. As it turns out, both of these are also spirit of Jezebel references, it seems, and not demonic in nature. The Bible story is speaking figuratively of both Jezebel and Elijah's spirits, while the Arkansas Methodist is making a statement about immodest clothes. In the 30s, we've got 2 Jehovah's Witnesses references, one by Rutherford and Preparation, and one in the Watchtower, the periodical of the same movement. And both of these appear to be references to notions of putting away particular fears or behaviors in preparation for the end of time. In the 40s, we appear to get one reference from the Watchtower again. But when we actually check the source, it's talking about an anti-Jezebel spirit that people need to show. This further strengthens our reading of the first 2 sources as behaviorally oriented and not demonic. On to the 50s. Here we get 2 sources. The first is from that suffragette-laden time that I was telling you about, a reprint of a 19th century preacher's work. That is, it appears again to be figurative, the spirit of Jezebel, rather than a Jezebel demon. Then to the 60s, nothing. Then to the 70s, a discussion of kings and a figurative spirit of Jezebel again. Now we get to the 80s, and oh my, it looks like something is happening. We appear to get more here than we have had in all of our previous decades combined. Now, what's the easiest way to explain this? Not that the Jezebel spirit got back from vacation sipping martinis on a desert island, but rather that Roe v. Wade occurred in the previous decade. In fact, what appears to be one of the most definitive references to a Jezebel spirit as a demon is in the work Ministering to Abortion's Aftermath. Then what happens in the 90s? Everyone jumps on the bandwagon. I got 10 pages in before Google finally stopped giving me results. And I'm sure the results have only increased from there. So could it be that there's been a secret demon that no one else is aware of until the 80s, hiding behind the scenes? I guess theoretically. But much more plausibly, it appears to be that the modern Jezebel spirit isn't so much an ancient demon as a modern spirit invented to threaten women into conservative Christian gender roles again. As I've noted, demonic ontology is not what I do. However, If anyone tells you that the Jezebel Spirit is clearly attested somewhere in the literary or historical record, my preliminary conclusion would be it is not. And if anyone tells you that you've been emasculated by a demon, well, it's your choice whether to believe them or not. But I would think of all the calls to nonviolence that Jesus issues in the Gospels, particularly, for instance, Matthew 5:43 to 45, before engaging with ideas that have been historically shown to encourage violence.